Tottenham Hotspur are living through a season that refuses to behave like a normal Premier League campaign. There is no stable reference point anymore. Every week reshapes the meaning of the last. Every result bends the narrative slightly out of shape. And every attempt to project forward into the summer transfer window feels conditional on something more immediate and more fragile: survival. At the center of it all is a club that still believes it is building something long-term, but is currently forced to operate in short-term emergency logic. This is where the Alex MERET story begins. But it does not end there, because Tottenham's goalkeeper situation is not just about recruitment. It is about identity collapse, managerial recalibration, and a squad that is no longer aligned across any single footballing philosophy. A club caught between project and panic. Tottenham Hotspur entered the season with ambition, but they are now defined by instability. Under Roberto De Zerbi, expectations were clear: control matches, impose structure, restore tactical identity, and move the team away from emotional football towards system football. But what has emerged instead is a hybrid team, one that can dominate possession for long stretches and still concede decisive moments through structural lapses. One that can look tactically advanced on paper, but fragile under pressure. This contradiction has turned every match into a referendum on the same question. Is this a rebuilding phase or a survival fight? The uncomfortable answer is both. The goalkeeper problem, where everything starts to split. Tottenham's interest in Napoli goalkeeper Alex MERET is not an isolated scouting decision. It is a symptom. Alex MERET has become a potential solution in a position where Spurs no longer have certainty. The situation begins with uncertainty around Guglielmo Vicario, who has been linked with a possible departure back to Italy. Whether those reports are fully accurate or not, the effect is already real. Tottenham are planning as if change is possible. That alone alters recruitment strategy, because when a club begins preparing for a goalkeeper exit, it is not just replacing a player, it is preparing to rebuild the defensive language of the entire team. Goalkeepers are not isolated roles in De Zerbi's system. They are starting points for build-up structure, pressing triggers, and defensive line coordination. So if Vicario leaves, Tottenham are not just losing a shot stopper, they are losing a system node. Alex MERET, safe hands or compromise solution. MERET's profile is complex in a way that does not fit simple scouting narratives. At Napoli, he has experienced cycles of being first choice, being challenged, and being rotated. He is technically sound, positionally disciplined, and experienced at title level, but he is not universally viewed as a long-term, undisputed elite goalkeeper. That matters, because Tottenham are not currently in a position where marginal upgrades are enough. They need structural certainty, and MERET represents something slightly different: controlled reliability rather than transformative presence. This is where the tension lies. Is he being targeted because he is the best available option, or because the market is limiting Tottenham's ambition? That distinction defines modern recruitment more than clubs like to admit. Tottenham's league position creates another distortion. They are not officially relegated. They are not mathematically doomed, but they are trapped in a survival narrative that reshapes every decision. When a club is in that psychological space, recruitment becomes reactive. Stability over upside, experience over potential availability over ideal profile. This is why MERET appears in the conversation at all. Not because he is the definitive answer, but because he is a feasible one, and feasibility becomes more important than perfection when pressure increases. If Vicario leaves, Tottenham do not just replace a goalkeeper, they trigger a chain reaction. Defensive coordination changes, build-up patterns shift, centre-back confidence adjusts, pressing triggers from the back line are rewritten. This is why goalkeeper decisions are rarely just about ability. They are about continuity, and continuity is exactly what Tottenham have lacked. The presence of Antonin Kinski adds another layer of uncertainty. He has shown moments of strong reaction shot stopping, including key saves in recent matches. But the question is consistency. Can he be a full-season Premier League #1, or is he still a transitional piece? Tottenham do not yet know the answer, and clubs that do not know their own answer tend to recruit twice. Roberto De Zerbi's tactical identity demands precision. His teams are built on structured possession, controlled progression, and calculated positional movement. But that system depends heavily on players executing roles with consistency. Tottenham's current squad does not offer that consistency across all lines, so De Zerbi is effectively coaching adaptation rather than implementation. This creates a subtle but important shift. Instead of building his system, he is managing deviations from it. That is why the defensive structure feels unstable even when possession numbers look strong. Because possession without structure is not control, it is exposure with the ball. In contrast to systemic instability, Tottenham still have one emotional constant. Christian Romero remains the squad's defensive anchor, even while recovering from injury. His presence around the squad has become symbolic, not just leadership, but continuity of identity. Even during rehabilitation, his involvement with teammates and staff reflects something Tottenham lack in other areas: certainty of role and intensity of standards. His absence in key moments has exposed how dependent Tottenham remain on individual defensive leadership rather than collective defensive structure. And that is not a personnel problem. That is a design problem. Tottenham's summer is no longer about improvement, it is about reconstruction. The club are expected to assess multiple positions, but goalkeeper is now central to that review. The decision matrix looks like this. If Vicario stays, then stability signing or backup reinforcement. If Vicario leaves, first choice goalkeeper required immediately. If Kinski develops, internal promotion becomes viable risk. MERET sits in the middle of all three scenarios. That is why he is being discussed. Not because he is the perfect answer, but because he fits multiple imperfect futures. Tottenham are not alone in this pursuit. League One interest complicates the picture significantly. Clubs like Monaco offer different conditions: less tactical pressure-stable European competition pathways, strong agent relationships, lower adaptation risk for certain players. This is where Spurs face structural disadvantage. They are competing not just with money, but with clarity of project. And clarity is something Tottenham are still trying to rebuild. The deeper issue at Tottenham is not recruitment, it is identity fluidity. Over the past several seasons, Spurs have oscillated between possession-focused football counter-attacking transition play, high-intensity pressing systems, hybrid tactical models. Each shift brings partial adaptation, but no full consolidation. That means players are often recruited into systems that change before they fully settle. MERET, Vicario, Kinski, none of them exist in isolation. They exist inside a club still searching for a stable football identity. Everything now comes back to one reality. Tottenham cannot fully plan the future until they stabilise the present. Survival in the table dictates recruitment urgency. Tactical instability dictates squad uncertainty. Financial pressure dictates market limitation. And all three intersect in the goalkeeper decision. That is why this story matters more than it initially appears. Because it is not about who Spurs sign, it is about whether Spurs can finally define what they are building. Tottenham Hotspur are not in transition, they are in overlapping transitions, a tactical transition under De Zerbi. A squad transition driven by contract uncertainty. A psychological transition shaped by survival pressure, and a structural transition in how the club defines success. Alex MERET is simply the latest name placed into that equation, but the equation itself is still unsolved. And until it is, every transfer will feel less like a step forward and more like another attempt to stabilize a moving target.